As part of its 140th anniversary activities, the principal, staff, pupils, and ex-pupils of the Methodist Girls High School are launching an urgent appeal for a new classroom block. Welcome to the present campus of the school at its current location in Wilberforce. This is the main school building. It was originally constructed in 1958 with 12 classrooms. Although it was spacious and more than adequate at that time, the student body had outgrown the building by our centenary year. Consequently, Mrs. Fashu Collier, our centenary principal, had to make the first formal appeal for more classroom space in 1980. That successful appeal by Mrs. Collier resulted in the renovation of this foundation building, the first building erected that housed the entire school when it relocated to Wilberforce in 1921. After the renovation was completed in 1980, the building was renamed Centenary Building, and it provided an additional 6 classrooms with a canteen occupying the ground floor. This increased the total number of classrooms at the school from 12 to 18 for an enrollment of about 500 students. The devastating civil war in Sierra Leone that lasted from 1991 to 2002 also took a toll on the physical infrastructure of the campus at MGHS. The two principals who served during the years immediately following the war, Mrs. Spencer Walters and Gilpin Jackson, started the ball rolling to restore some of the buildings that had started to deteriorate during the period of conflict. A decade on after the war, the effects were still being felt at the school. During her tenure as principal, Mrs. Daisy McWen soon realized the need to tackle the twin legacies of the war on the school: renovations and classroom expansion. First on her list was the renovation of the rear emergency exit on the Centenary Building, which had suddenly collapsed. With funding from the Old Girls Association Washington Metropolitan Branch, under the presidency of Mrs. Eugenia During, the principal was able to complete this renovation in 2019. Furthermore, with financial assistance from various other diaspora branches, the principal was also able to renovate the entire Centenary Building, and this is what it looks like today. Unfortunately, one lasting impact of the decade-long Civil War was the virtual destruction of the country's education system. By wiping out thousands of schools in the provinces, the war had forced about 70% of all school-age children out of school by 2001. The immediate effect was seen in the government's directive to schools in Freetown to accept many more students. This was the government's approach to quickly accommodating all the permanently displaced students from the provinces. But this sudden influx of additional girls from other parts of the country wanting to continue their education resulted in severe overcrowding, as the population of the school soon skyrocketed to 2,500 students. The solution then, according to the Ministry of Education, was to establish a 2-shift system, morning and afternoon shifts, as the available resources could not handle the increased numbers. A couple years after the 2-shift system was put in place, the ministry also introduced a new education system called 6334, 6 years primary, 3 years junior secondary, 3 years senior secondary, and 4 years college. The current principal, Mrs. Daisy McWen, was now responsible for the senior secondary school, while a new acting principal, Mrs. Marianne Jambai, was tasked with managing the junior secondary school. To help schools with the implementation of this new system, the Ministry of Education donated 2 classroom building blocks to the school. The first, seen here, added only 2 more classrooms. However, under the presidency of the late Miss Regina Phillips, the Freetown branch of the Old Girls Association funded an extension of this building to add a 3rd classroom. With this additional building, the total number of classrooms increased from 18 to 21. This was the second of 2 buildings donated by the ministry, with 2 more classrooms. One of the rooms had to be used as office space for the new junior secondary school principal, and the second room remained in use as a classroom. The 2-shift system also made sharing of the staff room quite inconvenient for both sets of teachers. So, under the leadership of Principal McEwen, a second floor was added on top of the original staff room, leaving the lower level entirely to junior secondary teachers and upper level for senior secondary teachers. Unfortunately, the 22 classrooms were still not enough for the student population, even with the 2 shifts. Realizing this need, the London branch, under the presidency of Mrs. Muriel Swallow Bell, provided the school with funding which Principal McEwen was able to use to convert this old, dilapidated, and out-of-use former boarders' dining hall into 5 new classrooms. With this newly converted building, the school was able to increase the number of classrooms from 22 to 27 classrooms. To help reduce the classroom crunch even further, 2 other older buildings are also being utilized periodically as makeshift classrooms. These are the old agriculture lab, seen here on the left corner, plus 2 other rooms located behind the old Form 5A building, seen here in the distance. In 2019, with generous funding from various diaspora branches, Mrs. McEwen was able to renovate the main school building block, giving all of its 12 classrooms a total facelift. With the student population now at 2,500 and the classroom space still limited, this morning and afternoon shift situation is greatly impairing the students' ability to learn. The result has been a steady decline in the quality of education that the children receive. Thus, we desperately need extra classrooms and other resources to help us return back to a 1-shift school. This way, we can adequately prepare our students for the future. In order for the school to return to a single shift, many more classrooms will be needed. It is estimated that we will need another 30 classrooms. It is because of this dire need that we are urgently appealing to our ex-pupils, alumni, friends far and near, donors, supporters, associates, and well-wishers to help us facilitate the erection of these additional classrooms and improve the facilities for the students. This is the proposed plan of the school building that will help us finally eliminate the current 2-shift system. It will be an L-shaped, 2-story, 28 classroom building with 14 classrooms on each level. This is the side view of the proposed building. This is the rear view of the building. As of July 2020, the estimated cost to construct this new classroom block is 3 billion leones, or $300,000. Pledges are welcomed in any amount or on a per classroom basis. For example, you can choose to sponsor one classroom or multiple classrooms. Each classroom will be named after the respective donor. Once the building is complete, it would need to be furnished with desks and chairs before the students will be able to use it. With an average of 50 students per classroom, we would need about 1,500 desk chair sets for this 28 classroom building. We currently estimate that this would cost about 360 million leones, or $36,000. Your pledges are welcomed for any number of desk chair sets. We thank you in advance for your support of our classroom appeal, which we hope to accomplish before the end of this, our 140th anniversary year. Donations are currently being accepted online at http://MGHS/OGAS.org. Thank you for your attention, and may God bless you all.